Lie back onto Dr. Mario's couch for a moment as we consider some of the psychological underpinnings for Nintendo's decisions about when to show its newest wares and when to remain painfully quiet. Of course, as it stands right now, if you believe the rumour mill, the long wait for the Switch 2 reveal may finally be over. Or we could be not halfway through the wait, since Shuntaro Furukawa confirmed last May that there would be a reveal this fiscal year. Sometimes rumours are right, sometimes they're Switch Pro. But why does Nintendo remain so suspiciously secretive? What psychological and marketing theories are underpinning their approach? In short, how does Nintendo psych out its fans? Now, to be clear, Nintendo are far from the only company who keep quiet about this stuff until quite late on. The PlayStation 5 Pro, after all, was revealed just a couple of months before it releases, giving people no time to start saving up. Still, it's not just consoles where Nintendo preserves an air of inscrutable silence. Game reveals that we might expect to be major draws to the console are often kept under wraps until the last possible moment. Imagine if Nintendo had mentioned in early 2020, "By the way, hang tight because we've got Metroid Dread coming." People would have exploded with excitement, and it may even have bolstered attention for Metroid-related goodies over the long wait. Or what if they'd mentioned a year or two ago that a new 2D Mario and 2D Zelda games were afoot? Why keep things so secretive? Of course, just to really mess with everyone, sometimes they drop a reveal almost comically early. It was nearly 4 years after the game that became Tears of the Kingdom was first revealed that we could finally play it, including a solid 2 years of radio silence. I think that there are 4 key pillars to Nintendo's strategy, which explains why they generally prefer silence over speaking. Firstly, they want the element of surprise. Many companies have a corporate mission that they put at the heart of everything they do, and Nintendo is no different. They aim to surprise and delight their audience, and you can't really surprise anybody if you conduct all your business out in the open. Moreover, at a certain point, a promised game ceases to be a lovely treat tantalizingly teased for future, but more a grim spectre at the feast, reminding everyone that vaporware is a thing. Better by far to wait for the last possible moment and spring that surprise. This also explains the pacing of Nintendo Directs. Yes, generally they have a rhythm of Directs in February, June and September, but sometimes, just to be perverse, they'll drop a Direct Mini in January or switch things up for a partner showcase. Sometimes this is for their benefit and to fit in with their scheduling needs, but I suspect that they also intrinsically believe that Direct should be a little ethereal. There is a psychological effect that we are much more motivated by unknown rewards than by known rewards. For example, in one study, participants were asked to drink a large amount of water within 2 minutes. One group had a guaranteed reward of $2. The other had the chance of either $1 or $2 determined by a coin toss. All logic would say that the group guaranteed a certain $2 reward would be more motivated to complete the task, but actually that group only completed the water chugging challenge 43% of the time compared to 70% on the group with the variable reward. Similar effects have been spotted elsewhere, and I actually think Nintendo uses this principle to keep its audience coming back for more. If they have the odd dud direct, well, that's bad in the short term, but that sense of variable rewards really makes the amazing directs all the more special and actually gives that audience that dopamine hit it craves. Secondly, I think it's quite a noble choice to protect Nintendo's development staff by withholding some of their reveals, and it ties into how they want their staff to approach these kinds of problems. Problem solving can broadly be divided into 2 types of tasks. There are mountain problems and there are meadow problems. A mountain problem is a major known task. You can see the thing looming in front of you and you just have to surmount it. This requires a focused approach and determination. However, a meadow problem is so open that there's no real clue where to go. You're just dumped in the middle of a meadow and need to figure things out. A challenge like bashing out the latest game in an iterative series is a mountain problem. You know there's some major challenge to scale, but you just need to get on with it. But Nintendo's blue ocean approach relies on meadow thinking. There was no mountain ahead that said motion controls had to be incorporated into consoles, or that Link should be able to manipulate and fuse objects at will. The trouble is, while overcoming mountains can have uncertain timings, meadow problems are even more resistant to schedules, and Nintendo has been burned by tipping their hand too soon in the past. Twice in relatively recent years, they've tipped the wink to projects which didn't turn up, or at least didn't turn up on time. The original Metroid Prime 4 version in 2017, and Miyamoto-san's promise of a Pikmin 4 title turning up soon from when he made the comment in 2016. But by shielding the dev teams from any direct criticism around delays, it must become a less stressed and more positive working environment, all the better for meadow problems. If a test of the new Nintendo system reveals that while it's brilliant in all other respects, it does have a tendency when the humidity in the room is at a specific level to, explode, well, that's no problem. Take some more time and sort the problem out. It's not that we don't know there's a new console, a new Animal Crossing, a new Zelda, a new whatever, but Nintendo insulates the staff from day-to-day scrutiny in a manner that surely has to be beneficial for them. Plus, the less they reveal, the easier it is to clamp down on leaks, because you know that, in essence, nothing should be getting out. That's not to say they can always afford to keep the lid on tight. It seems pretty likely that they revealed everything they possibly could about the Wii U's lineup early in order to forestall accusations of a lack of games. Hopefully, those days are long gone. The third pillar underpinning their approach is the desire for flexibility. We saw with the lovely Advance Wars 1+2 reboot camp how events can lead the company to rethink its approach on the fly, and while that was a rather drastic example, the world can be a fast-moving place, and there are always things that are happening with the competition as well. Nintendo particularly seems to want to wait to see what its competitors are doing first. Note how their June presentation was later than other video game reveals. It gives them a level of comfort to know that they have leveraged every option. Now, this isn't really a psychological so much as a pragmatic issue, but the more negative flip side of this drive to flexibility is a certain degree of analysis paralysis. Long-time Nintendo employees Kit and Krista have talked before about this tendency of Nintendo to overanalyze to the point where indecision starts to grind the gears of progress being made. This is also related to Japanese business culture's tradition of consensual and harmonious decision-making, a lovely principle, but one that necessitates a slower and more contemplative process of deciding what to do. And this leads to the fourth and final benefit, which is that I think it is probably a lot cheaper to do it this way in terms of advertising. If you start your hype cycle for a project a year or more out, that's really hard to sustain. Whereas if you concentrate your advertising spend to a specific window of time, you're more likely to get bang for your buck and actually translate that attention into sales, which after all is the most important thing for Nintendo's bottom line. Always be closing, as they say. Now, there is also evidence that consumers need to see an ad for a product around 7 to 8 times before it really sinks in. But while this may be true for a particularly novel brand of bathroom detergent, for Nintendo products, they can guarantee a slightly greater level of attention, at least from their early adopters. Dr. Alan Rim-Kaufman recently tracked 1 million clicks on search ads from Google and Yahoo. These resulted in 41,373 conversions, and what was clear was that half of the conversions occurred within 28 minutes. Basically, half of the people being advertised to knew straight away they wanted the product. I would suggest that this figure could be even higher for Nintendo. And of course, they can benefit from another effect, social proof. The more people pre-order a game or indeed a console, the more Nintendo can demonstrate to their audience that it is incredibly popular, and so they have the remaining weeks or months of the advertising campaign to bring everybody along to the party. Social proof can be an incredibly powerful motivating factor for people, and is more likely to come about if you generate a moment where lots of people are talking about something intensively over a relatively short period. Still, there are times when Nintendo do extend their hype cycle considerably, and here I think there is a particular reason. For one, they like to pre-announce Zelda games. I expect this is because Nintendo knows that people buy consoles for Zelda, and so while the first best option would be to sell you a Zelda game, the second best option would be to sell the promise of a Zelda game to come. This also helps with advertising. Note how Splatoon 3 and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom were revealed right before the Switch OLED model was announced. They got, therefore, to announce their model showing exciting, big-name titles still to come, as well as just their established evergreens. For this reason, we can be optimistic that Nintendo will be a lot more forthcoming over the next couple of years than they have been in recent times. So, as we stare down the potential of a new system finally being revealed, I think Nintendo knows exactly what it's doing. If you would be interested in more exploration of the psychological underpinning of Nintendo's marketing techniques, do let me know in the comments. Thanks to my Patreon subscribers, check out these videos, and I will see you soon for another Nintendo Forecast.